What you saw there was the result of total incompetence by the board and the manager. And it couldn't have gone any worse. They've had 90 days to buy players. We've lost 5 players in one day. And due to their incompetence, there's a very good chance for all that hard work we did trying to get fourth, he could blow it Wednesday night. And I'll tell you something, one of them, if not both of them, have got to go. And I've got a message to Tim Payton and John Cross and all you media lovies, get off your arse and start saying it as it is. And the message to the board, either fucking shape up or get out, because you've let all the fans down. You should be ashamed of yourself, Gazidis. What is going on at this club? You've taken the pride out of it, Gazidis.
And talking about that, we've got that game during the week now, and lots of injuries there. No players in. What are we going to do?
Due to their incompetence, they will not be able to field a team adequately on Wednesday night. And if they go out or lose 2 or 3-0, I expect you, Wenger, and you, Gazidis, to hand your resignation in. And Tim Payton, you can resign from the AST for speaking bollocks all summer.
Well said, mate.
I've had a fucking enough.
All fucking resign.
Cheers, brilliant. Arsenal Fan TV, I'm here with Chris Hudson. This is the very spot, Chris. The first game of the season, we were just getting our equipment out, ready to film, and you was the very first person that we interviewed that day. You came up, you were really angry about the performance when we got beaten by Aston Villa, and I said that, you know what, you've got to have the last word this season. Last home game of the season, Chris has got to have the last word. I wanted you to go back to that day, and then also now to look at where we got to. We've qualified for the Champions League without even having to play the game today. What's the season been like? I mean, taking the FA Cup out for a minute, what's the league season been like?
Some great highs and some terrible lows. I mean, you can't really moan about the home performances. I think we've been quite solid at the Emirates.
Apart from that first game?
Yeah, apart from the first game debacle. Away from home, the Stoke, Chelsea, Liverpool and Everton games were a disaster, and they cost us the league championship. And it wasn't just the result, it was how we were set up. There was no defensive organisation. The players didn't seem up for it. And the worst one, Robbie, was that Chelsea game. That really left a scar on me. I'm telling you.
I was glad I didn't see you after that game. I couldn't imagine.
It was awful. It was a and you know what made it worse? Because it was Wenger's 1000th game in charge. And people think, I'm not moaning about Wenger. I really genuinely felt sorry for him that day. But that's the good side of things. I suppose we beaten Tottenham twice. It's nice. They haven't scored a goal against us. Against some of the other challengers here, no one come here and steamrolled us at the Emirates. I thought we'd done well this year. Other than I think the worst game was possibly the Chelsea home. I was just as a poor performance.
They parked the bus as well, didn't they?
But Man City, we was a very low morale that day. I thought we battled well there. We beat Liverpool. So I suppose if you was giving marks out of 10 for the league performances, we've come fourth, but we've still got to qualify, mind you. Perhaps I'm being a little bit easy on them. 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Now listen, the first game of the season, what would you... I mean, after that first game of the season, obviously you were really, really angry, right?
Yeah, but that wasn't about 90 minutes, Rob.
Yeah.
That was about...
the whole summer stuff and all stuff like that. Right, after that first game of the season, would you have thought that Arsenal would have made it into Champions League places?
No. Being honest with you, no, because I left there very upset. We had obviously not bought anyone. The team had been humiliated. And I suppose that day, if you told me that, I don't know, I was so low that day, but it wasn't just me, the whole Arsenal support was low that day. So you've got to give them a pat on the back, how they recovered. And there's some players I think deserve a mention. Koscielny, I think he's been Mr. Consistency. He's my Arsenal player this season. And by the way, I want to see him be signing a new contract. I'm getting a bit nervous. I do not want to see him walk out of this club.
Now listen, the other thing that I wanted to ask you is on signings. We made the signing of Mesut Ozil. Now the summer's coming. What do we need? What do we need to bring in? I mean, I don't want to see an angry you approaching me on the first game of next season because we ain't signed anybody. I mean, what do we need to do this summer?
Well, also we've got to think about who we're going to lose. We're going to need a backup goalkeeper. We're going to need a right back. We definitely 100% need a midfield ball winner. Someone of strength and power. When we go away from home, possibly we could park the bus for a change instead of being steamrolled. And we obviously need a bit of help for Giroud. So we need 3 or 4. And I mean, I don't want make-do signings, like supermarket sweep signings on August the 31st. I'd like to see Arsenal buy 3 top-notch quality players.
Yeah.
You know, and if we got to get the World Cup out of the way, so be it. You know, but let's for once get it all done. So we're not turning up here. I know I've lost my rag again on the first game. Let's learn a little bit from what happened last summer.
Yeah.
Because if you don't learn, then really there's something seriously wrong.
And the other thing that a lot of fans have been talking about, and I think is another thing that cost us the season, is the amount of injuries we've got. Now, it just seemed like every week, injury after injury, and never to fringe players, always to key players. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, injuries can happen, but is it too many that happens at Arsenal? Is there some sort of problem going on here?
Well, the manager's admitted that by saying they're going to have an internal inquiry. And I really do hope that some of the journalists remember that. So I'm not going to let that go. Especially if we have our annual get-together with Ivan Gazidis, who meets the fans, that's got to be, that to me is number one priority. Why do we get so many injuries? And why are they long-term? Why do they take so long in their recovery? I mean, let's analyse it. This season, you can write off Walcott. You can write off Chamberlain if you think about it. How many games has he played?
Yeah, because he was out from the the Villa game. He was out, and then he didn't come back until after Christmas.
We've lost Ramsey for 45% of the season, and there's been other little niggles.
Jack Wilshere.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rob. People might think I'm being a little bit selfish. I do not want to see Jack Wilshere go to the World Cup if he's not fit. And the same with China. The main thing, I know if he wants England to do well, you go to Sainsbury's, you'll get carried away, it'll be June, come on England. But sit down and take a step back. I want Jack Wilshere to regain the form that he showed at Barcelona in that Champions League game. I don't want to be harsh on Jack, but he needs a rest. I don't want to see him go to the World Cup, pick up another injury, and he's not fit for the start of next season. And the same with Chamberlain. I know you want to represent your country, and it's wonderful. It's the World Cup in Brazil. Who wouldn't? But the bread and butter is the Arsenal, not England. And I'm going to get all this haste, Jack will be fit for the World Cup, and Ox will be fit. I'm not interested. I want him fit for the Arsenal, not a month in Brazil.
I don't want to ask you, one last thing I've got to ask you, right? Listen, I've had it on good authority that the suits inside there, Arsene Wenger, Ivan Gazidis, all watched your video from the first game of the season, right? Nearly 1 million people watched that video. I'd say almost every football fan across the country watched that video, felt your pain. I mean, do you think that video had a little bit of influence on them inside? I know you don't want to be. Listen, I've got to know you well over the season, and I know that you're not a big-headed guy, and you don't want to take no plaudits, etc. But do you think that it had a little influence on them inside there? I mean, they did go out and get Ozil after that. And if so, can you do another one? Because we need some more big players this year.
Well, look, my view on that is if they did watch it and they sat in a room, so they all watched it together in a room, and they thought, bloody hell, I think we better do something, great. That's all I would say about that. But it wasn't, that's not, they shouldn't need Chris Hudson ranting and raving after losing home to Aston Villa. They, within themselves, should want to do it without all that. And that's why this summer, don't put us through all the games, because I'm keeping an eye on them, I'll tell you. And all the little media lovies out there who write all these stories, the winders, all that. I've got my eye on them. I mean it, Rob.
Listen, Chris, it's been great. It's been brilliant getting to know you this season. And you know what? I think you represent what this channel's about. Fans, for the fans, by the fans. You are I know your passion. I see you text me before games and tell me how you're feeling about things. I just love your passion. And listen, I think every football fan, whether it's Arsenal, whatever club, they really appreciate fans like you. And it's well done, mate. And have a good, relaxing summer. Hopefully we can win the FA Cup. Yeah. And listen, if we win the FA Cup, and we've got into the Champions League places. What sort of a season we had?
8 out of 10, Rob. It's an 8 out of 10. This please God, we don't do a Birmingham in the final. Because I, for one, don't want to see Claude crying again on the telly.